Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Midoriya stood on the beach, cracking his knuckles. It was Sunday, meaning he had the entire day to test his transformations. All Might, in his normal form, stood nearby, observing. Midoriya, wearing his green jumpsuit, met All Might's gaze, and the pro hero gave a nod. Midoriya nodded back. All right, today, we need to figure out what these forms can do. He pressed the button on the Omnitrix, and the dial popped up, displaying a holographic silhouette. With determination, Midoriya slammed down on the Omnitrix, feeling the rush of energy as he was engulfed in a bright green flash. As the light faded, All Might watched closely and saw. A Tetramand? All Might mused. Whoa, forearms. Izuku exclaimed, staring at his transformed body. A bit unoriginal for a name, but if you're happy with it. Huh. Oh no, but I guess it'll do, Izuku replied, still marveling at his massive muscles. He flexed, taking in his new, towering physique. All Might, who was normally the largest presence in the room, looked small by comparison. Judging by his height, Izuku estimated he now stood about 12 feet tall. He could feel raw power coursing through him stronger than anything he'd ever felt before. This form, it's like you, All Might. Maybe even stronger, forearms muttered, clenching his massive fists. He crouched down, preparing to leap. Sensing what was coming, All Might quickly called out a warning. Hey kid, be careful. Stay within the beach's limits, all right? Forearms gave a quick nod, then launched himself into the air with an explosive shockwave, sending nearby trash flying. All Might had to brace himself as the powerful leap reverberated through the ground. The alien soared through the air, crashing down with a thunderous boom on the far side of the beach. The impact sent a massive cloud of sand and debris flying, scattering the trash in all directions. Whoa, All Might whispered, his eyes wide in awe. All Might soon ran down, panting heavily in his regular form. Young Midoriya, huff, are you puff all right? Yeah, I'm more than okay, Midoriya exclaimed, excitement in his voice as he spotted a truck buried in the trash pile. Without hesitation, he lifted it over his head with ease. This feels awesome. We should avoid using forearms for cleaning the beach, All Might advised. Huh, why not? I could clean it all up in minutes. And that's the problem, All Might responded with a serious tone. Your transformation is tied to you, but forearms is too strong. You won't build endurance or tear muscle fibers for growth. This form is better suited for combat. Midoriya gulped at the sound of that last word. Combat? Who will be teaching me? All Might grinned. Then suddenly, with booming laughter that echoed across the beach, he transformed into his muscular form. The sheer presence of the towering hero left forearms stunned. All Might cracked his knuckles. Now, young Midoriya, let's see what you can do. Put him up. Forearms hesitated, raising all four hands, still clearly nervous. Despite the massive muscles, he was still young Midoriya inside, trembling slightly. All Might took a step forward, arms raised, ready for battle. Listen carefully, All Might instructed, his voice calm but firm. First, take a deep breath. When facing an opponent, you can't show fear. Stand tall, breathe slow, and stay relaxed. Forearms closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, then exhaling slowly. As he did, the tremor in his hands started to fade. His massive fists clenched as he steadied himself, and when he opened his eyes, the fear was gone. All Might's grin widened. Good. Now, don't let adrenaline overwhelm you. Keep your hips square to your opponent. Let them make the first move. All Might launched a punch towards the alien with surprising speed. Instinctively, forearms dodged, reacting faster than he expected. All Might's eyes widened as forearms countered, cocking his fist back and landing a solid punch to All Might's face, sending him stumbling back in surprise. All Might rubbed his chin, still smiling. Did I just land a hit on All Might? All Might, chuckling, rubbed the spot where the alien's punch connected. The force was impressive, a testament to the alien's strength. Yes, you did, All Might said, grinning. Now let's see if you can take a punch. With a burst of speed, All Might closed the distance and unleashed a powerful blow, utilizing 35% of One for All's power. The punch generated a shockwave, sending nearby trash flying. For Arms braced himself, arms raised in a shield position. The impact was immense, but to both All Might's and Midoriya's surprise, For Arms didn't budge. I took a punch from All Might. For Arms exclaimed, his body shaking. Emboldened, For Arms used his strength to push All Might back, creating some distance. He adopted a fighting stance, though his inexperience was evident. I'll admit, you're pretty strong, but All Might declared before grinning. In an instant, All Might bridged the distance, his fist cocked back and ready to strike. For Arms didn't have time to react. But you lack experience. The punch crashed into For Arms' stomach like a freight train, forcing the air from his lungs. Saliva sprayed from his mouth as he clutched his abdomen, his eyes bulging. For Arms struggled to rise, but All Might's swift combos sent him crashing back down. A devastating hook connected with For Arms' jaw, followed by a crushing uppercut that sent him soaring. All Might's final blow, a mighty punch to the chest, launched For Arms across the beach, sending trash scattering everywhere. The force of the impact created a shockwave, rattling nearby debris. The Omnitrix flashed green before engulfing Izuku in a brilliant, emerald light, reverting him to his human form. All Might offered a nod of approval. Impressive, young Midoriya. You lasted longer than most foes. Izuku groaned, tenderly clutching his stomach. Thanks, All Might honored. All Might's grin widened. Rest up, 3 down. We've got 7 transformations left to test. Young Midoriya. Izuku winced, foreboding settling in. Something tells me today is going to hurt. A few minutes later, Midoriya was reviewing his new plan to master One for All and his training schedule for the next 7 months. He was munching on a dumpling when he suddenly heard the familiar beep of the Omnitrix. Stretching his arms, he called out, All Might, I'm ready. As he began dialing the Omnitrix, he skipped past the aliens he had already transformed into, finally slamming down on the dial. In a burst of green light, he transformed. It seems I'm a seafood platter, Midoriya said, looking down at his new form. All Might groaned in annoyance as he recognized the transformation. Cerebrocrustacean? They're the most condescending aliens I've ever met, especially that Dr. Psychoboss. Hopefully, that attitude isn't in the DNA. Midoriya, adjusting to his new form, replied, and apparently, I possess a highly advanced intellect. Ergo, I should assign this new life form a more fitting name. How about Brainstorm? Brainstorm began pacing around as electricity crackled from his brain, sending sparks to the papers Midoriya had been reading. They floated into the air, dancing with arcs of energy around him. Interesting. I'll need to make some adjustments to address your glaring flaws. First, instead of the usual exercises like lifting heavy weights or running, we should focus on improving my endurance. My transformations require stamina, and enhancing my endurance will allow me to maintain these forms for extended periods. All Might couldn't help but nod in agreement, even if the alien's condescending tone grated on him. We should also prioritize increasing my durability and muscle density. This will acclimate me to the overwhelming power of One for All. Based on my calculations, with this approach, I can optimize my readiness to receive your quirk 2 months before the entrance exam. During that time, I'll also refine my ability to utilize One for All when I revert to my human form. All Might grinned at the crab-like alien, who was now meticulously adjusting the plan with a pen. But then, Brainstorm's expression shifted to one of annoyance. All Might. The pro-hero suddenly felt like a student being summoned to the principal's office. Yes, your original plan was for me to receive One for All in 10 months. Am I correct? Yes. Judging by these adjustments, you intended to grant me One for All on the day of the entrance exam, correct? All Might gulped. Well, yes. So, you were planning to give me a quirk without any combat training? Analyzing the risks involved, if I were to use your power without proper preparation, the resultant consequences could lead to catastrophic injuries, including bone fractures, before the exam even begins. I trust I'm mistaken because such oversight would indicate a severe lack of foresight. I mean, you would have done fine. Annoyed, Brainstorm opened his brain, unleashing a concentrated blast of electricity toward All Might, who twitched in pain. As the sun began to set, a flash of green light illuminated the beach, revealing Midoriya lying on the ground, breathing heavily and panting from exhaustion. Due to his lack of knowledge about the Omnitrix, the only way he could transform back to normal was by completely exhausting himself, which he had done through all the transformations. The beach was littered with pale crystals pierced into the sand, while some appliances lay melted and covered in green slime. Others were ensnared in a web-like substance, and black scorch marks dotted the sand, remnants of lightning strikes. All Might stood nearby, covered in scorch marks, his clothing shredded and splattered with green goo. He had reverted to his normal form as well. "Seems we've figured out what all your transformations can do," All Might said, breathing heavily. "I'll try to allocate a day for each of the transformations for you to work on." Exhausted, Midoriya could only manage a weak thumbs up. "You should probably avoid transforming, especially if you don't know how to turn back. You don't want to show up to class as Ghost Freak," All Might advised. Midoriya nodded but turned to All Might with a concerned expression at the mention of Ghost Freak. "Speaking of Ghost Freak, it feels strange turning into him." "How so?" All Might asked, curious. "Well, with all my transformations, it feels like it's me, but I'm also someone else, like how some pros say wearing a mask makes them feel like a different person." All Might nodded. "Yes, you do seem to get a bit of a confidence boost, not by much, but it's noticeable. Brainstorm, however, makes you come off as a condescending." Midoriya groaned in embarrassment. "I said I was sorry." "It's fine, but go on," All Might encouraged. "But with Ghost Freak it feels like I'm actually someone else, like I'm hijacking someone else's body. And he doesn't like it." A moment of silence hung in the air, broken only by All Might's shivering. "Okay, kid, that was terrifying, but I doubt you need to worry about it for now." Midoriya nodded uncertainly just as his phone rang. He picked it up and answered, "Hey, Mom. Yeah, I'll be home soon. Bye. Love you too." As Izuku headed home for the day, he walked with heavy eyelids, struggling to keep himself awake as yawns escaped him. When he finally returned home, he could barely muster the energy to plop down onto his bed, instantly passing out from exhaustion. Next morning, Midoriya household, Musafata Prefecture, Tokyo, Japan. "Honey, wake up. You're going to be late for school." Midoriya groaned, turning from side to side in his bed before finally waking up. He resigned himself to another day of being treated like a freak, the whispers about him being quirkless echoing in his mind. Then, a realization dawned on him. "Wait, I have a quirk." That means Midoriya halted that train of thought. Of course, he wanted to show everyone that the useless Deku, a nickname that had brought him so much pain, wasn't so useless after all. But it wouldn't be right. Just because I have a quirk doesn't mean I have to be like Kakin and flaunt my powers around. I have nothing to prove. And Kevin's status has been a good deterrent for bullies. As Midoriya put on his uniform, he made sure to hide the Omnitrix under his sleeve. After a quick breakfast and a kiss on his mother's cheek, he heard the familiar horn of a car. Spotting Kevin in his muscle car, he waved back. "What are you waiting for? Let's go?" Kevin shouted as Midoriya hopped into the car, hesitating for just a moment, knowing Kevin drove like a maniac. After putting on his seatbelt, the belt gave a shaky thumbs up. As they sped off, Kevin glanced at the strange-looking watch on Midoriya's wrist. "Oh, Izuku. What's up with that watch? It looks super weird." Midoriya's heart raced as he tried to hide the Omnitrix, earning a suspicious stare from Kevin. I like it. I got it 2 days ago." "Is that weird?" "Yeah, like super weird. But that suits you perfectly, super weird," Kevin replied with a chuckle. Midoriya laughed nervously, but Kevin's probing didn't stop. He noted the symbol on the watch, but the conversation soon shifted as they arrived at school. As they walked through the halls, the boys ignored the stares and whispers from the other students. They made their way to the lockers, but Kevin's expression darkened when he saw Izuku's locker. It was a mess of vandalism, covered in cruel messages scrawled in bright red and black marker. "Quirkless freak." One message screamed, "You'll never be a hero." Another taunted. The locker bore the marks of countless insults, the metal surface scratched and dented as if it were a target for all the pent-up aggression of the students around them. Midoriya's heart sank as he took in the hurtful words. For a brief moment, he felt the sting of their cruelty. It was a familiar pain. But then, a thought pierced through the fog of negativity, a memory of the one person who truly believed in him. All Might, he whispered to himself, his thoughts turning to the hero who had told him he could be great. That belief rekindled a flicker of determination within him. Kevin's fists clenched in anger, ready to knock some heads, but Izuku seemed to shake off the pain. He simply grabbed some books, a newfound resolve strengthening his posture as he made his way to class. When he opened the classroom door, a hush fell over the room. Students glanced at him, some surprised by his lack of reaction, while others pointed and jeered, "Quirkless loser." Usually, such taunts would draw a painful reaction from him, a forced laugh, a pained joke, or a feigned indifference. Everyone could see the tears he tried to hide, but today was different. This time, he straightened his shoulders and faced the insults head-on, as if the words bounced off him. "All Might thinks I can be a hero. His opinion means more to me than them." Kevin just smiled. "You see that, losers? You can try to kick him down, but you'll never keep him down." The group of students glared in frustration before walking away. Midoriya waved goodbye to his friend and made his way back to class. As the school day came to an end, Izuku walked out of the building. Kevin said we would meet at his car. He looked around, feeling confusion and worry when he spotted a group of students gathered around Kevin's car. They wore malicious grins. "So this is Levin's car?" "Yeah, that freak Levin. You know he keeps defending that useless Deku. We can't break him, but how about we break his car? Satoru is distracting Levin, so we have plenty of time to mess it up. Leave it alone," Izuku said, his legs trembling. The group turned to him, and they all burst into laughter. "As I was saying, let's mess this thing up. If you don't leave, I'll stop you myself." The group laughed even harder, and one of the bullies punched him in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. The bully grabbed him by the collar and pulled him close. "Listen here, Deku. Stay out of my way, or I'll hurt you worse than Bakugo could ever dream." Midoriya felt a surge of determination and grabbed the bully's arm. "I said leave it alone." Everyone was surprised to see Izuku stand up for himself, and they had never witnessed that look in his eyes before. The thug clenched his teeth and punched him again, throwing him aside like trash. "And what are you going to do about it, you quirkless loser?" Then Izuku heard the Omnitrix beep, almost as if it was reminding him of his options. He quickly glanced at the group before running away to find a hiding spot. The bullies watched him flee, then turned to each other and laughed loudly. "What a loser." The onlookers joined in the laughter, but Izuku wasn't running out of fear. He was searching for a place to transform. He eventually found a secluded spot where he could hide and prepare for what came next. "Okay, Izuku, just go Ghost Freak and scare the pants off them." Izuku gave a shaky smile, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves as he pressed the button on the Omnitrix. A holographic figure of Heat Blast appeared before scrolling through the options, stopping at the Spectre. "All right, I'm just going to get them away from Kevin's car. He's done so much for me that I owe him this." Izuku gulped, then slammed down on the Omnitrix. In a flash of green light, he transformed but found himself not as Ghost Freak. "Fast track." He hugged the corner, his heart racing as he watched the boys preparing to vandalize the car. "It's hero time," Fast Track declared before darting out of the corner like a bullet, a blue blur shooting past. "Oh man, Deku never GAK." One of the bullies was suddenly punched in the face, sent staggering back as Fast Track weaved through the group with incredible speed. Kevin emerged from the school, a smile spreading across his face as he witnessed the 6 thugs being overwhelmed by the rapid movement of the blue figure. No one could track Fast Track's swift strikes, which landed with a heavy impact that sent several bullies tumbling to the ground. "What are you?" one of the thugs shouted in confusion. In a flash, Fast Track struck another thug, sending him crashing into his friends and knocking them down like bowling pins. The force of the impacts left them reeling and disoriented. Fast Track zipped around, delivering quick jabs and kicks that sent the bullies sprawling. By the time he stopped, the thugs were left tangled together on the ground, utterly humiliated. Fast Track crashed down in a rather ungraceful manner, but quickly stood up, pretending nothing had happened. "Endeavor-themed underwear? Really?" he quipped, glancing at the bullies who were now too embarrassed to respond. Everyone stared at the blue and black creature in disbelief. Kevin noticed the symbol on its chest and immediately had questions, but for now, he felt a sense of relief as the thugs ran away, humiliated, while laughter erupted from the onlookers. "Hey," Kevin called out. Fast Track turned, panic flashing across his face as he heard Kevin's voice. He gave a shy wave before darting away, leaving a cloud of dust in his wake. Kevin stood there, confused, trying to process everything that had just happened. "Thank you for the clarification. Here's the corrected version." Fast Track zoomed through the streets at an incredible speed, struggling to control his momentum as he tried to slow down. A girl with earphone jacks as earlobes was walking home, about to catch the train when a sudden gust of wind rushed past her, blowing her hair and jacket slightly. Surprised, she looked around but saw nothing. What was that? She muttered, confused. Nearby, a guy with spiky blonde hair and a tail was about to enter a gym to train for the UA entrance exam. As he glanced down the street, he was surprised to see a blue and black blur racing past. Whoa, that guy's fast. I didn't even see him. A girl with an unexpressive face, dressed in her school uniform with black hair, was walking home as well. She suddenly felt a gust of wind lift her skirt, which she quickly pressed down. Assuming it was just a random breeze, she continued walking without a second thought. Above the city, a man with red wings soared through the sky, his feathers assisting in a few rescue efforts. For a moment, he felt something moving at incredible speeds. As he looked down, he caught a glimpse of a streak of blue dashing through the streets. He smiled, impressed by the speedster below. Meanwhile, a man in white armor was tying up some thugs with his teammates. All right, let's wait for the police to handle these guys. Suddenly, they all felt a powerful gust of wind rush by, nearly knocking off the armored man's helmet. Whoa, whoever that is, they're fast. He grinned and adjusted his helmet before taking off, his engine roaring in an attempt to match the mysterious speedster. Fast Track, however, wasn't doing as well as he hoped. Okay, Izuku, let's stop, he muttered to himself. But as he tried to slow down, he lost control and crashed straight into a pile of trash cans, sending debris everywhere. Dazed, he lay there for a moment, swirls in his eyes. As he attempted to stand up, a voice called out, "You okay?" Fast Track looked up, blinking to clear his vision. Standing above him was an armored man, one he quickly recognized. "Whoa, Ingenium!" Fast Track exclaimed, his excitement barely contained. Ingenium chuckled, seeing the awe in the blue cat-like figure's eyes. "I take it you've heard of me?" "Of course I have. You're part of the Ida Family Hero Agency. They're one of the oldest hero agencies around, with most members being heroes for generations." Ingenium chuckled. "Guess I don't need an introduction." Excitement quickly turned to worry for Fast Track. Wait, you're not here to arrest me, are you?" Ingenium waved it off with a laugh. No, nothing like that. But crashing into trash bins isn't exactly the smoothest move, is it? Fast Track scratched the back of his head sheepishly. "Yeah, stopping isn't my strong suit right now." I see." Ingenium nodded thoughtfully. "How about some help from a fellow speedster?" Fast Track's eyes lit up with excitement. "I'd be honored." But then he hesitated. "Wait, aren't you super busy though?" Ingenium smiled reassuringly. "You can never be too busy to help someone in need. Plus, you don't want to crash into more trash bags, do you?" "No, not really," Fast Track replied, embarrassed. "All right, when stopping at high speeds, especially for speedsters like us, it's important to grind to a stop. Keep your feet at a steady angle as you slow down. The friction from your feet will help bring you to a stop gradually. Just don't push your feet too close together, or you'll risk twisting an ankle." Fast Track nodded rapidly, taking in every word before assuming a runner's stance. Ingenium watched as the blue blur sped off again, making sure to follow closely to assist if needed. Onlookers were amazed as they watched the two speedsters zoom down the street. "Grind to a stop," Ingenium called out. Fast Track grinned, focusing on keeping his feet steady. He skidded to a halt, coming to a smooth stop down the street. Panting, he beamed. "I did it." Ingenium, thoroughly impressed, ran up to him. "That was amazing. Most speedsters don't pick it up that fast." Fast Track bowed deeply. "Thank you. This means so much to me. With this speed, I'll definitely ace the entrance exam for UA." "UA? How old are you?" Ingenium asked, tilting his head. 15, why?" Fast Track replied. "Wow, really? You just don't look like the typical teenager, even with your mutation-type quirk," Ingenium said with a hint of surprise. Fast Track blushed slightly. "Well, it's actually a transformation-type quirk. I don't always look like this. My other transformations are even more drastic." "Transformations? You can take on more than one form?" Ingenium asked, intrigued. Yeah. My quirk lets me transform into different forms with other abilities," Fast Track explained. "I see," Ingenium nodded. "So, I take it you haven't fully embraced your speed yet, huh?" Going faster will also affect your techniques. You're really something. The pro put a hand to his chin, thinking, you're definitely rough around the edges, but with your high speed, which I've never seen before, and the way your body moves so precisely and flexibly, you've got serious potential. And from what you said about having other transformations, your quirk can do it all. Fast Track blushed at the praise. Yeah, but I'm still getting used to my powers. I haven't even figured out how to turn back unless I exhaust myself. Plus, I don't think my speed would be that useful in most situations. Not true. Speed really matters, Ingenium said firmly. Think about it. When people are caught in accidents, natural disasters, or villain attacks, what do you think is going through their minds? Someone save me. Close. They're thinking, someone save me quickly. Ingenium's voice grew more passionate. When the world's turned upside down by some big emergency, very few people can stay calm. They get scared, nervous like lost children. That's why it's my job to reach them even a second sooner, to give them that peace of mind. For heroes, the number one factor is speed. Fast Track listened intently, taking in every word. In my opinion, anyway, Ingenium continued with a smile. But unlike most pros, you're not limited by just one aspect of your quirk. You can literally be the hero for any moment of crisis, the hero someone desperately needs. For example, if there's a fire, some heroes like Kimui Woods wouldn't be able to do much. But you could unless you don't have a fire form. I actually do. His name is Heat Blast. Exactly my point, Ingenium said. You can save anyone in any situation. I hope you remember that. Fast Track looked at himself, realization dawning on him. He could help so many people if he mastered his forms. He could be the most versatile hero. Before he could finish, they both heard the distant shouts of some women. Bring those back. Both speedsters shared a look of surprise. Someone help. Those creeps stole something. Perverts. Get back here. Ingenium smiled, ready for action. Looks like we're needed. Fast Track nodded eagerly. Oh right. Want to join me? Ingenium asked with a grin. You're pretty fast. How about we take down these villains together? Fast Track nodded, and Ingenium smirked. Okay, keep up, rookie. The pro hero blasted off, leaving the boys stunned. What? Expecting a countdown or something? Better start running. Ingenium teased. Fast Track immediately followed, matching his speed as they arrived at the scene. 3 individuals wearing purple costumes were there, one of them holding panties. The scowl of the women nearby made it clear what had happened. Give those back, you perverts. Hey, it's Ingenium. One of the women yelled. The 3 culprits turned, their expressions turning to fear. Ingenium protocol. One of them shouted. Suddenly, purple spheres flew from the bushes, sticking to the ground. Ingenium took a step forward, but accidentally stepped on one of the spheres. Hey, he realized he couldn't move. The perverts took off, stuffing the stolen underwear into a bag. Fast Track, using his incredible speed, darted forward and snatched the bag from them. He opened it, his face wrinkling at the sight of the stolen undergarments. Hey, those are ours. One of the perverts protested. Yeah, we stole them fair and square. We earned them. A voice from the bushes yelled. We agreed to split them 50-50. No, they're not. Fast Track shot back, dodging as they tried to pelt him with more purple spheres. With ease, he dodged every attack, moving in a blur. Meanwhile, Ingenium managed to free himself, moving swiftly to knock out all 3 perverts with quick strikes. Fast Track then rushed to the bushes, hoping to find the mysterious person who had been throwing the spheres, but they had already escaped. He was about to search for them when Ingenium called out, Hey, kid, how about you find some rope so we can tie these guys up? Fast Track ran off and quickly found some rope, handing it to Ingenium. The pro hero tied up the perverts, who were now fast asleep. Hey kid, I still don't know your name, Ingenium said, looking at him curiously. Oh, Izuku Midoriya, Fast Track said, reverting to his usual self as the green light of the Omnitrix engulfed him. Soon, the women ran over, showering Ingenium with thanks, completely ignoring Midoriya. Thank you, Ingenium. You were amazing. And so dreamy. One of them gushed. Hey, I helped too. You know, Midoriya groaned, his head hanging in disappointment. As the perverts were tied up and the stolen undergarments returned, a beeping sound came from the Omnitrix, and Fast Track transformed back into his regular self. So that's what you usually look like? A little plain, Ingenium teased. Yeah, I get that a lot, Midoriya replied, unfazed. Ahem. A girl with vines for hair stepped forward, bowing politely. Thank you for retrieving my undergarments. Those vermin should be ashamed. I'll pray for them. Thank you both. Midoriya was too flustered to respond, but Ingenium took charge. Oh, don't worry about it. It's what heroes do. As the girl walked away, Ingenium reached into his armor and pulled out a card. Here, he said, holding it out to Midoriya. Midoriya's eyes widened in disbelief. You have real potential, kid. I can see you making it big one day. If you ever want to work with us, the Ida Family Hero Agency, we'd be happy to have you. We believe in winning the day through teamwork. Midoriya looked at the card, his eyes brimming with tears. This was the first time a hero, aside from All Might, had recognized him. Overwhelmed with emotion, he took the card with shaking hands. I won't let you down, he promised. The pro chuckled before blasting off with a wave goodbye. As he stared at the card with a smile, Itsuka Kendo wiped the sweat from her brow as she took a shortcut home. She'd been warned that her usual route was risky. Perverts and some scuffles with speedsters like Ingenium had been reported. Still, after a long training session at her dojo, she wasn't in the mood for trouble. None of the boys at the dojo had given her a real challenge today, too scared of being beaten by a girl or too prideful to fight her seriously. As she walked, she felt the familiar weight of her gym bag slung over her shoulder and the coolness of the towel draped around her neck. Hey boys, look what we found. Kendo paused, turning her head to see four men staggering toward her, reeking of alcohol. Their eyes leered over her sweat-drenched figure in her gym clothes. She had just been minding her own business, taking a sip from her water bottle, but these guys clearly had other plans. It's our lucky day, boys, one of them slurred, grinning. That sweaty body's turning me on already. Kendo felt her head start to boil. F off. The leader chuckled, licking his lips. I'm gonna enjoy breaking you and making you my personal toy. Her eyes narrowed, her hand tightening around the bottle. Last warning. Leave me alone, or you're all gonna be eating through a straw. The men laughed harder, clearly thinking she was bluffing. One of them, the leader, took a step closer. Cute tough girl act, princess, but don't call me princess. Before she could crack her knuckles and teach them a lesson, another voice rang out. Leave her alone. Kendo and the men turned to the source, expecting some tall, muscular guy ready to play the hero. But instead, it was a scrawny boy with a mess of green hair. He looked nervous, yet determined as he stood between her and the men. Kendo frowned. This is supposed to be my hero? Some plain-looking kid? She didn't need help, and this wasn't the white knight she expected, anyway. The four thugs broke into laughter again, the leader wiping away a tear. Get lost, shrimp. We've got business with her. Izuku's legs were shaking, but he stepped forward, taking a deep breath. I said back off. The laughter stopped, and the leader's expression darkened. His fist coated itself in jagged rocks as he sneered. Looks like we've got ourselves a hero, boys. Let's teach him a lesson, then make him watch. Fine idea. The leader agreed as he cracked his knuckles and charged at the green-haired boy. Kendo sighed, ready to step in and save this reckless kid, but to her surprise, the boy dodged the attack, swift and precise. His counterpunch was even more shocking. It landed square on the thug's jaw, knocking him out cold. I did it. Izuku gasped, staring at his hand in disbelief. But the victory was short-lived. One of the other thugs took advantage of his distraction, delivering a hard right hook to Izuku's face, breaking his nose and sending him backwards onto the ground. Idiot, Kendo muttered, having seen enough. Before the other three thugs could react, she exploded into motion. The first thug swung a punch at her, but Kendo ducked, grabbing his wrist. With a sharp twist and a pivot on her heel, she flung him over her shoulder, sending him crashing into the asphalt. He didn't even have time to groan before he was out cold. The second thug, now fully aware of the danger, charged at her, but Kendo sidestepped smoothly. She drove her elbow into his ribs, doubling him over, then delivered a swift spinning kick to the side of his head. The man's body hit the pavement with a dull thud. The last thug hesitated, his eyes wide with fear, but Kendo didn't give him time to act. She advanced on him with lightning speed, weaving through his clumsy punches with ease. With a swift series of palm strikes, she disarmed him, then landed a knee straight to his solar plexus. He collapsed, gasping for air, before Kendo finished him off with a roundhouse kick that sent him sprawling across the alley. Izuku, still holding his stomach from the earlier punch, stared in awe at Kendo. She had dispatched the remaining 3 thugs in a matter of seconds, barely breaking a sweat. She glanced down at him, clearly unimpressed by his attempt to help. "You all right?" she asked, hands on her hips. Izuku, with a broken nose and wide eyes, managed a nod. Yeah, you were amazing. I've never seen anyone fight like that," Izuku exclaimed, his eyes wide with admiration. "How can someone be that strong?" Kendo smiled at him, her demeanor relaxed. "Thanks. It was just a little martial arts, but I really didn't need your help. Thanks anyway." Izuku felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him as he scratched the back of his head. "Yeah, I guess I didn't do much. I just thought you could use some help. Why do I always have to make things so awkward?" Kendo assessed him thoughtfully. "He's pretty plain not really my type," she considered. "But those bruises tell me this isn't his first fight. He probably didn't win most of them, though." She walked over to her gym bag and pulled out a pamphlet, scribbling something down. "Hey, Izuku Midoriya," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Itsuka Kendo," she replied, looking at him straightforwardly. "Listen, you look like the type who attracts a lot of trouble, so here." She handed him the pamphlet with a small smile. Izuku stared at it in confusion. "A dojo?" he asked, trying to process the information. "Yeah, my grandpa runs a dojo nearby. If you want, maybe you can train or something." "A dojo? Learning some martial arts could really expand my fighting style, especially if I can use them in my transformations." He began to mumble to himself, excitement bubbling up inside him. "Wait, I hope I'm not creeping her out." Kendo raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, you have a transformation-type quirk too?" Izuku snapped out of his muttering, surprised by her interest. Yeah, I'm still learning about it. Talking to someone with a transformation quirk could really help me. I could probably learn how to transform back." "Cool. If you do choose to come to the dojo, we can trade transformation secrets. Scratch your back, scratch mine, that kind of thing." Izuku nodded eagerly, but then glanced at his phone, panic rising. "Oh, I gotta go. Bye, Kendo. By the way, the number on the pamphlet is mine. Text me if you want," she called out as he turned to leave. Izuku ran down the street as Kendo waved goodbye to the strange kid. As Izuku made it to the train as he was heading to Mustafu Prefecture, he looked at the pamphlet with a smile as realization soon dawned on him. "I talked to a girl." He looked at the pamphlet, looking at the number. "That I got a girl's number." Midoriya's face turned completely red as he laughed, which unfortunately creeped out the bystanders. Kevin Levin was many things: a delinquent, troublemaker, sure, but despite all the bad things people labeled him, he still wasn't a bad guy. Sure would he break the rules on an occasion, but he's a teenager who wouldn't. Right now, he was in a dark room. "Dear Kevin." He turned to the voice that echoed throughout the room. The voice always told him to absorb, to take. It was like a hunger that begged for itself fulfilled. "I sense power that you can't imagine." The voice sounded ecstatic. "Go away. Leave me alone," Kevin growled in annoyance. "Why? Do you hold yourself back? We are strong. We should not." "Shut it," Kevin shouted to the void. "I know what you are, a little present from dear old dad. I'm happy that monster is dead. And whatever you are, I'm not going to be like him. A person who takes and takes. I refuse to be like that demon." The voice just chuckled in amusement as the place began to grow darker, the walls closing in as a hand erupted, holding him down as one began to approach. He struggled in places then. He woke up with a jolt as he woke up in a cold sweat and breathed heavily, grasping his face in fear. It had been a full week since Izuku discovered the Omnitrix. He had been training regularly and had informed All Might about the dojo where he was learning martial arts. All Might found the idea splendid. Before, their schedule had been tight, but now, with the Omnitrix, All Might could fit in some martial arts training. Now, Izuku stood in front of the dojo, shaking like a leaf in the wind. He took a deep breath before walking inside. The moment he entered, the smell of sweat flooded his senses. As he looked around, he noticed people sparring with one another. "Oh, Midoriya, you made it." The voice of Itsuka Kendo reached him as she approached, accompanied by an old man hunched over and holding a cane. Seeing Kendo in her training gi made Izuku blush. She looked really cute. "Hi." The old man began to circle around Izuku, observing him with keen interest. Kendo looked somewhat embarrassed, but didn't say anything to stop him. After a few moments, Izuku felt he should ask, "Oh, what is he doing?" "He's sizing you up," shouted a boy who was wiping sweat off his forehead. "Don't worry, he did the same thing with us." "Oh, okay," Izuku replied. The man stopped and faced him directly, staring into his eyes while everyone watched in anticipation. His cane slammed to the ground, causing Izuku to flinch. "From what I can see, you're spineless. Pathetic. Weak." A hush fell over the group at the old man's blunt assessment. Kendo felt compelled to speak up. "Grandpa, don't you think?" But she was cut off when he raised a hand. "But," he continued, "when I look into your eyes, I see that the world has tried to put you down. I see that the world has tried to crush you, but it has only strengthened your unbreakable spirit. You have heart and soul, but your lack of self-confidence and timid nature will hold you back." Izuku stood silent and stunned as the man continued. "Right now, you're nothing but a candle." He turned his back to Izuku. "Itsuka." His tone was firm, and the girl stood rigid with her arms on her hips. "Hi, you said you haven't been challenged enough, am I right?" "Yes, sensei," she replied. "In 5 months, I expect this boy to be a raging inferno. You both have a lot of work to do." Both Kendo and Izuku screamed, "What?" "But Grandpa." "Ah, it's sensei, my pupil. Take this as another lesson to learn. Now, please take young Izuku for a moment. You're both the same age, so I hope you become friends as student and master." Kendo looked somewhat annoyed but sighed, giving a nod before smiling at Izuku. Before he could say anything, Kendo grabbed him by the wrist, pulling him up and out of the room with surprising ease. She was much stronger than she looked. "Come on, Midoriya, let's get going." Thus began the months with Kendo to come. As she pulled him past the dojo and into the back room, a mixture of a storage area, locker room, nurse's office, and weight room, Izuku looked around in awe. He noticed practice weapons, such as staffs, stacked in a corner. After some weight measurements and a series of questions, Kendo observed Izuku. Although he had been training somewhat, she still considered him scrawny. From the time she had spent measuring him and conducting other tests, it was clear to her that he wasn't used to being around girls. His stuttering, flushed face, and tendency to look away either at the floor or anywhere but at her made that obvious. She handed him a GI to change into, and he stepped behind a curtain to get ready. Wanting to break the ice since they would be training together, Kendo decided to initiate conversation. "So, Midoriya, what school do you go to?" she asked, trying to ease the tension. "Aldria Junior High." "What about you?" he stammered. "Dantuni Junior High." "From what I can see of your hands and body, you've been training, right?" Yeah. I've been training for the UA entrance exam." "Oh, no way. You're aiming for UA too?" Kendo said, her excitement evident. "Yeah, it's my dream school. I've always wanted to attend, even though some people said it was impossible, but I'm still going to try my best." Kendo smiled at him. "Yeah, people have told me my quirk is just one note, but I don't care. I love my quirk. I'm going to get into UA and become a hero." Just then, Izuku finished putting on his GI and smiled as he glanced at the Omnitrix. He stepped out from behind the curtain. "So how does it feel?" "I think I got the right size." "It feels a little big," Izuku admitted, looking at himself in the mirror. "Yeah, when I got my first GI, it felt way too big. But after a while, it fit perfectly. I guess. Now let's begin your training. First, we'll start with some stretches." Midoriya froze, a blank expression on his face. "Stretches with a girl?" He looked at Kendo, taking in her figure, and gulped. Slapping his cheeks to shake off any impure thoughts, he followed Kendo out, determined to focus on the training ahead. They returned to their green cinnamon roll, which had just been judo flipped and crashed to the ground. "Ow!" Izuku groaned, rubbing his backside. "Come on, Midoriya. Try harder," Kendo called out, her hands on her hips and a determined look on her face. Izuku lay on the ground for a moment, taking a deep breath before pushing himself up. He rubbed his butt, feeling a little defeated. For the past 3 hours, Kendo had been testing him to see how she could improve his skills. From their first fight, she knew he would need a lot of work. Kendo sighed, wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. She grabbed a towel, dabbed her face, and tossed a bottle of water to Izuku. "Let's take a break." As they settled down, Izuku felt the perfect opportunity to ask a question that had been weighing on his mind. He fidgeted, scratching the back of his head. "Hey, Kendo, I was wondering. Seeing the boy stutter and blush wasn't anything new to Kendo, but from everyone else's perspective, it looked like he was about to ask her out. Oh, looks like the tomboy Kendo is finally getting a boyfriend. A voice teased from across the room. Kendo rolled her eyes and waved them off, turning back to Izuku, who was still fumbling for words. You said you have a transformation quirk. I was wondering if you could show me some tricks. He looked up at her, his eyes wide with anticipation. Huh, is that all? Kendo replied, a playful smirk on her face. She set her bottle down, and suddenly her hand began to grow. Izuku's eyes widened in amazement. So what do you want to know? How do you turn it back? I mean, how does your hand go back to its normal size? He glanced at the Omnitrix, then back at her. I've been trying to turn back to myself after I transform, but the only way is when I'm heavily exhausted. Oh, well, it's not that complicated. I just think about wanting to go back, and I do it. She demonstrated, her hand shrinking down and then enlarging again effortlessly. Izuku nodded, a determined expression crossing his face. Just think about going back to myself. He stared at the Omnitrix, pressing the button with a mix of excitement and nervousness, drawing Kendo's curious gaze. A what? Are you doing to your? She was cut off by a sudden burst of green light engulfing him, catching everyone's attention. Kendo instinctively covered her eyes, and when she opened them again, her mouth dropped in shock. Where a scrawny, timid boy had stood, now loomed a 12-foot-tall, four-armed alien. All she could manage was, for arms. The alien exclaimed, his voice booming. Go back to Izuku. Go back to Izuku. Go back, Izuku, he muttered, scrunching his face in concentration as he struggled for a moment before slumping to the ground. That didn't work. Kendo's eyes bulged out, scanning the alien before her. A few girls watching the whole scene blushed, feeling a little turned on by the alien's imposing figure. Midoriya? That's you, right? Do you mind turning back? She asked, her voice a mix of awe and concern. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck like this until I get tired, he replied, looking down with an apologetic expression. Oh, when you said your quirk is a transformation type, I didn't expect this. Yeah, for arms is pretty cool. He's good with strength, but fast track is better for speed. Fast track? Oh, that's what I call my forms, he explained, a shy blush creeping across his alien cheeks. Forms? Like plural? Yeah, I can turn into 10 other heroes, he said, his tone filled with embarrassment. Kendo stared at him in disbelief, her eyes wide. This guy had an incredibly overpowered quirk, yet he was so timid. Usually, those with powerful quirks were the most arrogant jerks, but I don't get it. You have such an awesome quirk. How can someone like you, with a quirk like that, be so timid and, honestly, kind of wimpy? She crossed her arms, a look of genuine confusion on her face. The alien flinched at her words, his posture deflating slightly. Sorry. No, it's refreshing. Most guys with a quirk as powerful as yours are kind of idiots who look down on people with quirks like mine, Kendo said, glancing down at her hands, a hint of disappointment in her tone. What? But I think your quirk is amazing, the alien exclaimed, bending down slightly to meet her gaze. Your quirk is both offensive and defensive. You can subdue villains and protect bystanders. Kendo looked at the four-armed alien geeking out about her quirk, which made her laugh despite the fact that he looked like a freaking monster with muscles that would make All Might jealous. The alien was still Izuku, after all. As she observed him, she couldn't understand how someone with a quirk like that could have such low confidence in himself. Then she noticed the symbol of the Omnitrix on his wrist. Hey, maybe try pressing that dial thingy, she suggested. I've tried. Nothing happened, he replied, his voice still carrying that familiar hint of defeat. Well, try it while using my advice. It might work, she encouraged, a playful smile on her face. Forearm stood up and approached the dial. Go back to Izuku, he muttered as he touched the dial. In a massive burst of green light, he transformed back into Izuku. To most of the girls' disappointment, the eye candy had just disappeared in a flash of light. Izuku looked at himself, relief flooding through him as he realized he was back to normal. Hey, I'm me. Thank you, Kendo. No problem. Now let's get back to training. You need a lot of work. And hey, if you have time, I'd love to spar with that four-arms guy, she said, her enthusiasm evident. Oh, sure. No problem, Izuku replied, a slight blush creeping across his cheeks. As the day came to an end, Izuku headed home. Ever since he told All Might that he wished to learn some martial arts, the pro hero had immediately adjusted his plans. Within a week, every Tuesday and Thursday would be dedicated to martial arts training, while the other days would focus on building his body to prepare for One for All. While walking home, Izuku took a moment to write a new entry in his notebook. It was about Kendo and her quirk. He meticulously documented every detail and aspect, even if there wasn't too much to it. He found it a little weird, but he couldn't help himself. Kevin returned home, and what he saw made him drop his bag and feel his head boil. His car was smashed to bits, a tag on it reading, "Freaks of Aldria." Kevin dropped to his knees, instinctively absorbing the ground as black electricity crackled around him. Then he heard a voice that sounded eerily like his deceased father's. What a shame. Kevin looked like he was about to lose it. This wasn't just a car. He had worked tirelessly for months for it. This was his ticket out of the slumps, his way to a new garage. His home, his car, everything was vandalized. You know what I find hilarious? The people who did this will probably suffer no consequences. There will be no punishment. No. What? I'll make them pay. If no one is going to do anything, it will be me. Me and Izuku will burn that school to the ground. Hee hee. Ha ha. His face twisted into an unhinged expression as he began to laugh. Black electricity with a red outline crackled around his body. It was the afternoon around 1500 hours. That weekend, Izuku woke up early and began training to clean up the beach. Unbeknownst to him, he was being watched by his friend Kevin, who observed from afar. Just as Kevin was about to ask Izuku why he was training, he noticed something puzzling. The boy began fiddling with the watch on his wrist. What are you doing? Kevin wondered, his eyes widening as Izuku slammed down on the Omnitrix and was engulfed in a green flash, transforming into some sort of crab creature. What the? Kevin watched as Izuku, now in the form of Brainstorm, released electricity from his hands, lifting trash and stacking it into a pile. Moments later, Izuku pressed the dial again, turning back into himself as he started gathering the trash and running up the stairs where a thin, blonde man watched. Getting tired of standing by, Kevin decided to confront Izuku. He has a quirk. For how long? Since when? It must have been recent. There's no way he would go through that torment willingly, right? A malicious smile crept across his face. He has a quirk. If the two of us, yes. Yes. Young Midoriya, I see you figured out how to turn back, All Might said. Izuku nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, thanks to Kendo. I was able to figure it out. She's amazing. Oh, is young Midoriya a ladies' man? All Might asked, a hint of fear in his voice. Please, for the love of God, don't be like your dad in that department. We almost ended up in a galactic war because alien women wanted a piece of him. No matter how many advances they made, he was always loyal to Inko. Huh. Oh, no, sorry, All Might, but I doubt I could get a girlfriend if my life depended on it, Izuku said, sighing in relief. Izuku, a familiar voice called, making the two flinch. They turned to see Kevin Levin walking down the stairs. Kevin? Oh, what are you doing here? Izuku asked in a panicked tone, glancing at All Might, who met Kevin's gaze without flinching. I came to ask about that speed dude from yesterday. You know, the guy who saved my car from being totally trashed. He had the same symbol on his chest as your watch. But now I just saw you turn into that crab guy. So something tells me you were that speedster, right? Kevin said, glaring at him. Unable to lie, Izuku nodded. After a few minutes of silence, Kevin smirked. So you have a quirk? I thought you were quirkless. Well, young Midoriya's quirk just came in, All Might interjected. Quickly. Apparently, it's a transformation type that allows him to change into multiple forms with unique powers. It lay dormant for a while, but after the sludge villain. Gotcha. You transformed? Wait. But that was 3 months ago. It didn't show any signs until recently. We're still trying to figure it out, All Might added hastily. Oh, okay. So you know next to nothing about this overpowered quirk? All right. And who are you, skeleton dude? Kevin asked skeptically. I'm his trainer of sorts, All Might said quickly. Kevin nodded. Don't know why you're keeping it a secret, though. Midoriya's quirk is unlike others, as you can see, All Might explained. Dude has multiple forms. You don't see that every day actually, like, ever. Maybe dual quirk users, but this. Kevin shook his head in disbelief. Exactly. We'd like to understand it ourselves before people start hounding him like animals, trying to figure him out. So please keep this information to yourself. Kevin shrugged, then put an arm around Izuku's shoulder, dragging him away from All Might. Oi, Izuku, how about you ditch this training for today, and we hit the mall instead? I'm not sure about that. Come on, I've had a pretty bad day, and you owe me at least that much, Kevin said, making Izuku feel guilty for lying to his only friend. He turned back to All Might and bowed slightly. Sorry, Yagi-sensei, but I'll be canceling training today. This made Kevin smile to himself, while All Might frowned slightly. I'll make up for it, don't worry. All Might sighed, understanding that if David found out Izuku was lying to him, he would want some time to talk privately. I understand, young Midoriya. Your friend probably has a lot of questions. I'll leave you to. Time skip. And I slam down on the dial. And then I turn into one of 10 aliens. Izuku exclaimed, his excitement bubbling over. Aliens? Kevin asked, raising an eyebrow in disbelief. That's what I call them, Izuku stammered, his cheeks flushing slightly. So that blue cat-like thing at the school was you? Kevin inquired, trying to wrap his head around the concept. Izuku said, nodding nervously. Dude, you're the man, Kevin shouted, giving his friend a high five. You totally stopped those idiots from messing up my car. We're friends, and that's what friends are for. Izuku replied, a proud smile spreading across his face. But as he glanced at Kevin, he noticed the devilish smile creeping across his friend's features. Huh, all right. You know, with your new quirk and my own, we would make an unstoppable team, Kevin said, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Yeah, Izuku replied, clenching his fist in determination. We could make great heroes. But Kevin's smile faltered, and he turned serious. Heroes, right. His tone caught Izuku off guard, making him tilt his head in confusion. Though, with you having a quirk now, it means you have to follow all those stupid quirk laws, Kevin added, a hint of frustration in his voice. Huh, what do you mean? Izuku asked, puzzled. Well, you know that whole thing about running in to save someone who's in trouble? You can't exactly do that anymore, Kevin explained, his expression darkening. Midoriya furrowed his brow, trying to comprehend Kevin's words. Before he could respond, Kevin closed his eyes, lost in thought. It had been a week since his home was vandalized and his car destroyed, and he had made his declaration. During that time, he absorbed the quirks of a few people not too flashy, just a hearing quirk from one guy, and an improved vision ability from a pink-haired girl with dreadlocks. Suddenly, he concentrated, hearing something that made him smile. Help! Izuku's heart raced at the sound. A cry for help was one of his few weaknesses. Let's turn this way. It's a shortcut, Kevin suggested, his eyes lighting up with a hint of excitement. Sure, Izuku replied, trusting his friend. They both headed down the narrow alleyway, the atmosphere shifting as shadows loomed around them. Kevin remained silent, his expression serious. Izuku felt the urgency of their mission as they moved deeper into the alley. Then his sharp ears picked up a feminine voice crying out, help. Without hesitation, Izuku sprinted toward the sound, and Kevin followed, surprised at how much faster Izuku seemed to be moving. Must have been all that training, Kevin thought, determination pushing him forward. They arrived at a scene that made them stop in their tracks. A girl in a middle school uniform stood helplessly, her purple hair flowing around her as she faced a group of guys brandishing weapons. Ear jacks protruded from her ears, crackling with static. Leave me alone, the girl shouted, her voice filled with defiance. You're mutant trash. We're going to mess up that pretty face of yours. One of the thugs sneered. Does it really take this many guys to beat up one girl? She retorted, standing her ground. Oh, we both know you aren't just any girl. What you did to our boy here made us really mad. Your boy is a real creep. Don't you know what no means? She shot back. Hyuka, are you still mad about the quirkless kid? Come on, he was just some nobody. One of the thugs laughed. It was needless and cruel, she exclaimed, her determination unshaken. Kevin, watching from afar, whistled in disbelief. What were the chances he would come across someone like her? As they observed the thugs preparing to attack, Hyuka didn't look scared. Instead, she seemed to be formulating a plan, though she clearly didn't know what to do next. Izuku immediately reached for the Omnitrix, but a hand stopped him. What do you think you're doing? Kevin questioned, his voice firm. What am I doing? What are you doing? Izuku looked at him pleadingly. I have a quirk now. I can help. Now let me go? Oh, I don't doubt you could take them if your transformations are what you told me they are. But you have a quirk now, meaning you have to follow our quirk laws. What? Izuku asked, confusion written all over his face. You were quirkless. Of course, you wouldn't be aware of how harsh it is to use our quirks to harm others. And if UA finds out, they can't accept someone who breaks the laws so blatantly. You think this is just a game? One wrong move, and they'll label you a villain. You'll be blacklisted before you even get started on your hero journey. You're not serious. I can't just stand by and. You have to. People who break the laws, regardless of their reasons, are considered villains. That's the society we live in. We have to turn a blind eye. Izuku felt conflicted as Kevin let go of his arm. He glanced at the girl pressed up against the wall. Her eyes may have shown bravery, but he could see the silent plea for help. Someone save me. Without another thought, he slammed down on the Omnitrix. The green flash caught the attention of everyone nearby, including the thugs who were about to do God knows what to the girl. From the bright light, a ball of green slime flew through the air and landed between her and the thugs. Goop! Izuku exclaimed, transforming into the slimy alien. With a stretchy fist, Goop slammed one villain into the wall, leaving him stuck amidst a gooey residue. A thug swung at Goop, but the alien dodged effortlessly and countered with a slime whip, sending the villain crashing to the ground. Meanwhile, a third villain snuck up from behind, only to have his ears assaulted by the girl's earjacks. Screaming in agony, he fell to his knees, receiving a swift kick to the face. As the dust settled, two more villains collided, their heads messy, and crumpled to the ground. Kevin stepped forward, a smirk on his face. Kevin, you helped me out, Izuku said, surprised. But I thought you said you weren't interested in heroics? I'll always have your back, Izuku, Kevin replied. That's what friends are for. The girl approached, twirling her earphones. Hey, thanks for saving me. You guys should go. Don't want you getting in trouble for quirk usage. I'll handle the cops. Izuku nodded, transforming back into his human form. No problem. Take care. As they left the girl to deal with the knocked-out thugs, now being arrested, Izuku and Kevin made their way to the bustling Kiyoshi shopping mall. Someone had to do it, Kevin said. There were no heroes in sight. We had to take action and put them in their place. They needed to be punished. Who knows what they would have done to her if we just stood by and did nothing. Yeah, but we still broke the law and ran from the scene, Izuku countered. Would you prefer we stayed and got arrested? Kevin asked, his tone firm. That's exactly what would have happened. Can't we say it was self-defense? Izuku began. Kevin cut him off. The girl was self-defense, but we purposely stepped in looking for a fight. You can't keep thinking like that. Thinking like what? Izuku asked. Playing by the rules will lead to success. That a hero will always be there to save you. Newsflash, the rules are just as useless as the heroes and teachers. Especially our teachers, who turn a blind eye to everything happening around them. And for what? Because you were born different? You didn't ask to be born quirkless. But how many times has this rotten world pushed you down? How many times were you beaten before I stepped in? Izuku looked uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact. He preferred to ignore his harsh treatment from others and put the worst times behind him. You said you want to be a hero, right? Kevin asked. Izuku nodded hesitantly, unsure where this was going. What do heroes do? Kevin pressed. They protect people, Izuku replied. True, but you know what else they do? They put villains to justice and hold them accountable for their actions. Where are you going with this? Izuku asked. Kevin didn't look up, continuing to drink before noticing his glass was almost empty. With a wave of his hand, a pink purse flew into his grasp. Kevin, what are you doing? Izuku exclaimed. Kevin rummaged through the purse, finding a cell phone. He examined it before tossing it to Izuku. Hey, stop. Give that back. Izuku protested. Give it back? I don't think so, Kevin said, his tone laced with anger. See, the way I see it, the world around us praises assholes like Bakugu and punishes us just for being born different. I say we fight back. We show everyone what we're capable of. We show the world why they shouldn't have messed with us. Kevin extended his hand in a handshake. I've had your back all these years. Now have mine. Please, Izuku. What do you say, partner? Izuku hesitated, considering the offer, when, hey. The boys turned to see a girl with short brown hair, hazel eyes, and permanently flushed cheeks. Her distraught expression and accusatory finger targeted them. Give it back. That's mine, she shouted, desperation edging her voice. Tears seemed imminent. Kevin immediately grabbed Izuku's arm and began running. The girl spotted the boys trying to flee and quickly tried to catch up to them. As she made it down the stairs and out into the street, she saw the two boys running away. Desperate, she pleaded with them, "Please give it back. That's the last money I have. My parents don't have much. Please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything." Her voice cracked as she tried to keep up with the boys. This caused Midoriya to turn toward the girl, but he was pulled by Kevin, who ripped open a manhole and leapt into it. Kevin sealed it behind them, leaving the girl struggling to open it. Tears began to prick at the corners of her eyes. "No," she whispered, and she stopped struggling, allowing herself to cry softly. As Midoriya walked through the sewers, he could hear the faint sobs of the girl. It broke his heart. He felt ashamed of himself and disgusted by his actions. "We went too far," he muttered. "Huh," Kevin replied, not paying attention. "That girl was so distraught. We have to return it." "Oh, so you're not with me?" "We get to do anything, and if I want to keep this money, I will." "Kevin, we can't do this. We're acting like villains." "Oh, I see. I've had your back, but when I need yours, you'd rather take some cheap shots at someone you don't even know? It's not like that." "Shut up. I'm tired of that school." Kevin's face began to look more unhinged with every word that came out. Yeah, I'll end them. I'll show them what a real villain is like." "Kevin, stop. You need to calm down." He looked at Izuku with a wild expression. "Or what? I'll stop you myself." Kevin's face morphed into a mask of anger as he absorbed the ground beneath him. Having absorbed a fire quirk earlier, his hands ignited with flames. Midoriya quickly dialed the Omnitrix and slammed down on the device. "Amphibian, I've been protecting you since we were 10. Don't think I won't beat you to a pulp if you get in my way." Amphibian launched a powerful lightning bolt toward Kevin, sending him flying and slamming into a wall, scorching mark on his chest. Kevin quickly blasted himself toward the boy, his hands morphing into maces. He swung them at the alien, who dodged the attacks. With each swing passing through him, Amphibian wrapped his tentacles around Kevin, sending a torrent of electricity through him. Kevin grabbed the tentacles and screamed in pain as he absorbed the energy before they were blasted apart. Amphibian widened his eyes in horror as Kevin, a mixture of amphibians, flew above and made his way down the street. "You want to play hero?" he said with a malicious tone as he concentrated on directing the blast of electricity toward the railways. Amphibian's eyes widened as an explosion ensued. As a train approached rapidly, Kevin flew into the power lines. Oh man. So, this was the end of part 2 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.